Welcome to another edition of Influence, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the influencer marketing industry. My name is Gordon Glenister. And for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm also a keynote speaker, trainer and consultant in the sector and published author on influencer marketing strategy. Influence is also a proud member of the Marketing Podcast Network, where you can listen to other amazing influencer and marketing related shows. But before we start, please don't forget to subscribe to this show just to make sure that you don't miss a future episode. Now, today I'm talking with Jane Malyon. She's the founder of the English Cream Tea Company. And I have to say, she's an absolute hoot and someone that has had multi-million views on TikTok. So she tells me about her fascinating story of how she's created this huge fan base and her amazing company. And this is what she had to say.
So it's my thing. Afternoon tea has always been my thing. As a child, every weekend, we'd make our own cakes and sandwiches. And I loved it because nobody got roaring drunk. There weren't any terrible rows because it's afternoon tea. It's not dinner. It's not cocktails. There was no swearing. It was just harmony and loveliness. And when I got married and we had our children, we brought them up to enjoy afternoon tea. Two sons, very spirited, kind of naughty boys, but they got afternoon tea. And we went once a year to the Savoy or the Ritz or something. Oh, wow. And they knew there they behaved. Not the rest of the year, but that's fine. And still, they're all grown up now. We still go for afternoon tea in whatever country they happen to be in. So it's always been my thing. My hips will testify to it, Gordon. I'm afraid. But I met an elderly lady. And at that time, my husband and I were running a wedding catering company, not an afternoon tea specific company. And the elderly lady and I were talking about our favourite thing and the London hotels. And she was saying which was her favourite. And then said she'd had her last afternoon tea ever in all the world. I said, no, don't say that. That's a terrible thing to say. She went, no. She said, I can't travel anymore. It just, wipes me out. So I've accepted I'm never having another afternoon tea. And I tell you, the light bulb literally went on.
Wow. So she's the catalyst for
she
the
was.
company.
And I have delivered her one since, you understand.
So tell me about the company then. What is it that you provide and how long have you been going?
So we started 11 years ago. Bizarrely, no other companies were delivering full afternoon tea in Great Britain. Zero.
Oh my God.
That seems ridiculous, but nobody was doing it. Very few still deliver full afternoon tea. There's been a spate of it during lockdown, local tea rooms rushing around with something to your door, but we deliver all over the UK. And it became my thing. How could the special indulgence of afternoon tea, not a bag of crumbs, nothing, we're not talking Greggs, they're great, but we're not talking that. We're talking something different. And how could that be delivered to you and it still be in perfect condition, have a big, beautiful satin bow on it, and the reveal is exciting, and you're getting the whole experience, even though you're not at one of the hotels. And that was my aim.
Yeah. And so presumably you've delivered teas to all sorts of maybe famous people as well, have you? Or
we have. Sometimes we're asked to sign non-disclosures, sadly. So that puts paid to that, which is such a shame, because I'd love to just say, oh, guess who we just delivered? I'd love to do that, but that would be the end of it, of course.
Yeah.
But yes, all sorts of people, because it is a perfect gift for the person who has everything.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if they've got everything, no one says no to the door. There it is, a beautiful hamper, and inside is your smoked salmon sandwiches and your, cakes and scones and scones and all that. Nobody says no to that.
Well, you've actually used an interesting word there in terms of the word scone. or scone, and
Yes,
that has been something that the great British public have debated and
yes.
had rows on in families all across the country. So, how do you say it? Do you say scone or scone?
Well, so I called my book Scone or Scone
Oh, look at
because
that.
it's such a question. Can you see I've made the last E very pale to try
Oh,
and emphasize that
very
otherwise
good.
you'd have it scone or scone or scone or scone, which makes no sense. Scone or scone. I give about 100 talks a year and I ask the audience every time what they vote for. Hands up if you say scone. Hands up if you say scone. About 58%, in my opinion, say scone.
Scone, yeah, yeah. And
But what do you think Her Majesty says?
scone.
No, she says scone.
Does she really?
She really does.
Oh,
What does
wow.
she know? Nothing.
Exactly, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I would say scone actually. Yeah,
Would you? Well, when we started, we could actually only deliver a 20-mile radius initially for the first month. So it was our scone zone. Now, I tell you, you can't have a scones on because, that's ridiculous. And we have a scone phone for orders. So I maintain Her Majesty's just got this little bit to
Yeah.
say.
Do you know what I love about you? A, your enthusiasm. Your accent is beautifully quintessentially English as well, which I think is part of your persona, isn't it, as well? And I know that when we were speaking before, there were you've loved and adored by Americans, aren't you? You've had
Yes.
so much attention from and do you deliver to America or not?
Well, we can't deliver fresh food. We can't get clotted cream over the borders, but we can deliver jam, tea, my book, ambient things, tea towels, and so on.
Right.
And of course, we can do online etiquette courses, which I do.
Do you? Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's
You're
great.
right. The Americans seem to appreciate my voice a lot more than the British do. Sadly.
Oh dear, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, you should do voiceovers though for an American audience. You could do,
Really?
because I know that actors and actresses during the pandemic, they were because they couldn't work, they were doing all sorts of personal greetings and you could definitely look at that as a bit of a sideline.
I'd like that. I've done my first one where somebody said, could you say happy birthday to my friend? She loves you on TikTok. And I've done my first one of those.
Have you
We'll see
really?
where it leads. But yes, the Americans seem to appreciate the voice, and the British think I'm a supercilious snob who needs a slap. There we go.
Oh, I love that. Oh my goodness, that's great. So let's just talk a little bit more, obviously, because this is an influencer podcast, and when we talk about influencer marketing, so often it's a younger audience,
Yes,
and yet what I think is fascinating is how we resonate with people that are a little bit different or have got an interesting story to tell. And one of the things I love about you is that you're really in a niche space and you've
that's
really
true.
perfected this really, really well. So tell me about just TikTok, but also some of the results that you've had on Instagram and TikTok as well have been fantastic, haven't they? So tell us a bit.
Well, we stumbled onto it. I have to say, I had never even been on TikTok up to 4 months ago. I didn't actually have a mobile phone either.
Joking.
Luddite, officially.
No.
So somebody said to me, you should go on TikTok. And I went, no, isn't that just dancing people, doing the floss or whatever it is, young girls and all of
Yes.
that? She said, well, it isn't just that. In fact, I went on a little course and this lady said it can be good for business. So I'll have a go. I'll just have a go. And so I made a video of my husband, because he's really our chef and wonder man, making finger sandwiches. I mean, sandwiches, this isn't rocket science, but he makes them beautifully. In fairness, they are a wonder because he packs them beautifully and they're like, oh, that's great. Anyway, I didn't know you were meant to set it to music. I didn't know you were meant to keep it, 30 seconds long. I did a 3.5-minute video with me talking over the top, just going, and now he's going to cut the sandwiches And you can see he's putting them on the side. And I'm just doing the voiceover, just describing it. Put it on. Within a week, we had 4.5 million views on that. Google says, I don't know whether this is trustworthy. If you put, I'm at Afternoon Tea Jane, if you put that in, Afternoon Tea Jane on TikTok, you write that into Google, it says we've got 230 million views in 3 months. But apparently I'm not doing it right, because we're not doing music, I'm talking, and they're quite long.
But actually, so therefore, what the hell, if it actually is, the way which content marketing works is driven by algorithms. But I also think that what you've got is so unique, so unusual, and therefore that's what's resonating. And if people are liking what they're seeing, what was I doing something the other week? I was just videoing a truck that was going on in London. That was
Nice.
like a mobile. It was actually a mobile beer thing where people have a drink, but they're riding at the same time.
I've seen it, yes.
There's 8 of them either way. Well, that has had over 5,500 shares. And I'm thinking, I put some really interesting content out there, which I think is going to help and support
Yes.
people. It gets just a dribble of response. And then you put something like but what it does do is it's showing, I think, that people love to be entertained. They like to be inspired. They like to be educated. But they now, with so much content on the web, they like things that are different. And I think the combination of you as the character, your voice, your persona, your interesting enthusiasm, and you've got a quirkiness to you, which I think all of those add to the experience of why people like what they see.
Well,
So
thank you.
just
People are
keep
saying, I
doing it,
don't
I
know
would
how
say.
I,
It
oh,
doesn't
sorry.
matter. It doesn't matter the fact that you don't know.
Yes.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Well, we've accidentally tumbled into something else on this too, because so many people ask if either my husband and I will adopt them. I mean, hundreds of people are asking, or if we can be their grandparents.
Oh my
And
God.
they are saying that they are so overwhelmed with the world at the moment, and we are comforting. They watch us last thing at night, apparently, and would like me to record bedtime stories.
No, is
We'll
that
see
right?
about that. But it might be that in this world of, COVID, Brexit, inflation, Ukraine, just all that's going on,
Mm,
people really have been left completely discombobulated, bless them.
mm.
And to feel that this is just sandwiches and cakes and come round and have a cup of tea, and maybe this is the fireside
Chat.
coziness that they're missing, and we'd be happy to provide that.
Yeah. Well, it just shows you that actually when you put some content out there, you think you know what's going to happen, but you're surprised sometimes by
Yes,
what could spin off from this. I
yes.
mean, although you've shared a book, for example, about scone and scone, I think there's a whole lot more that you can do, which actually plays to the points that you've just raised. Comforting stories, bedtime stories that you could overlay or something. There could be all sorts of ways in which you could do that. Um, so yeah, you definitely entertain me, I have to say. I don't often laugh hysterically on a podcast or a video, and that just shows you that you've had an impact on me as well,
Thank you, Gordon.
which is great. So, what else? So you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok. Are you on
Yes,
anything else, or is it just
yes.
on YouTube?
So we've just relaunched on YouTube. We had a tragedy. We had 750,000 people, and YouTube took my account down like that. No notice, nothing wrong. I mean, it's afternoon tea. How risque can you go? There
My
was nothing
goodness.
dubious happening, and they wouldn't put it back. They said they couldn't find it. Honestly, I spent 7 months trying. So anyway, we've relaunched, and I've started a channel called English Cream TV.
Have you
Little joke
really?
there. See what I did?
Oh dear, that's
Lots of
great.
little videos and how-tos. And then I've also just lately gone bigger on Pinterest.
Yes. Now, Pinterest
Now,
is massive, isn't it, in terms of
it
visual?
is.
So I
And I've
think,
been so slow to the party. I had a page on there, but I wasn't really taking it seriously. And of course, Pinterest is pretty much where our main market is. Predominantly female,
yeah.
predominantly slightly older, possibly those with a bit more money. And I love Pinterest myself. I love the visuals, and I wasn't really doing much on it. So I've slapped myself around the face and started to add 2 videos a week.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And what sort of reaction have you had from that?
Well, it's building up. I've gone from about 5 followers to about 500 in 3 weeks. So it's heading in the right direction. And
Yeah.
I've opened up a shop on Instagram and Facebook, but haven't yet succeeded on TikTok. They are making it so hard. Food items, you have to provide, all the registration and background certification, and where is the cocoa bean grown for your chocolate brownie? I don't know. So we're having fun and games with that.
So will you be doing anything? I mean, you said that you've been doing lots of talks, which has been great.
Yes.
And will there be any extension to the product ranges at all?
Well, I keep taking myself in hand, because really we should be on Amazon in America, and we're not. So there's lots of scope, or not just America, China and so on. We have exported in the past to 7 different countries. The trouble is we've got a skeleton staff here,
Yeah.
and every new project just takes up more time and energy.
Yes.
So really, Gordon, if you'd like to take over as managing director, and I'll just be a full-time TikToker, we might have a plan.
Oh dear, that's great. That's really fantastic. Whereabouts do you live, by the way?
Essex, deepest Essex.
Oh, well, I was born in Essex. Whereabouts?
Oh, right. Well, we're in the Rodings. There are 8 tiny villages called, ours is White Roding, there's Leaden
Yes,
Roding,
I
there's a
know.
whole bunch of them, between Chelmsford and Stansted and Harlow and Dunmow and that sort of
Well, I've
territory.
probably come past your doorstep countless times without knowing it because
No,
yeah, my
you don't bring
family are all around.
flowers.
Family all around Chelmsford,
No,
uh,
that's just 8 miles away.
and I'm coming back to Cambridge, so I'm probably en route to you. So yes, we should definitely do afternoon tea,
Yeah,
shouldn't we? Yeah.
honestly, because we have, I'm sitting in the tea room at the moment, which is called the Secret Sconery, or Sconery, I'll allow it.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's an office the rest of the time, and then we de-office it and turn it back into the tea room for our
Lovely.
afternoon teas. But yes, come and have a cream tea with me.
Let's do that. So let's just sort of finish off with what will give some other sort of small business owners, and I know some often listen to the podcast. Maybe 2 or 3 of your best tips and advice, given and I know sometimes you'll be self-deprecating. Oh, it's all we've stumbled onto it, but you haven't. There's some
Okay,
really salient points. Perhaps just give me a handful of some of the
all
things that
right.
you would say.
Well, I am an away from person. Let me just explain. Towards people are very goal oriented. It's fairly straightforward for them. They set it all out. Step 1, step 2, this is what I'm going to do. I'm much more motivated by what will happen if I don't do something. And you can put off these bright ideas. If you are even a mumpreneur or an entrepreneur at home, and you've got this idea, you can put it off so long and then it won't happen. So number 1 is, how will you feel if on your deathbed you haven't done it?
Yeah.
Will you be kicking yourself? So that would be my first thing, to avoid regret.
Yeah.
My next one is about a team. Nobody can do it all. And we've got a tiny team here and we still can't do it all. So your team can be your buddies, your family. It can be people you employ. It doesn't have to be. I've done lots of swapsies with people. That's probably illegal. But, I'll do this, or I'll make you some brownie and you do this. And so gather your team around you, because you will need it. And also you do need holidays and breaks, and sometimes you might not feel well. And so what's your system for that?
Yeah.
One I should have done more of was the exit strategy. I think you could have an exit strategy in mind when you start up.
Often people do. They look at a 3 or 4 year plan, particularly if they've got investors who, if you think
Yes,
about private equity, they're always looking for that sort of 4 year exit, aren't they? So that, in a way, is in itself a motivator. Because to be doing the same thing for an entirety of your life can be quite challenging, you know.
it's
Um,
unlikely.
but
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Get the legals sorted. They're tiresome. I hate detail. I hate it.
yes,
But if you haven't done the legals, somebody can copy your idea or, take advantage of you. And then we hate that even more.
mm,
So do get some advice and help for if you need a contract or you need terms and conditions. And once it's done, it's done.
yeah,
And then, you've got that behind you.
yeah, no,
And then
absolutely.
I would say not to sell. I don't mean that literally, because of course we all have to sell. But somebody said, if you do TikTok, don't go and say, this is our product and we want you to buy it. And
Mm.
so we're just doing a behind the scenes of making cakes and sandwiches. And it is what it is.
That's exactly the right way to do it, you know. And I said educate, entertain, inspire. Those are my sort of mottos.
That's nice.
And but the behind the science video or how to are still one of the two types of video content that work really, really well. So anyway, I think it's been an absolute pleasure. A bit of a hoot, I have to say, and
Thank
I'm
you.
so pleased that I've met you. And I'm sure our podcast will do extra well because of your
Yay.
influence on it. All the
Bless you.
best, and thanks again.
Thank you, Gordon.
That's it for another edition of Influence. Please don't forget to subscribe to this show and give me your feedback. Gordon@gordonglenister.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, where you can also ask me a question. If you're able to leave us a 5-star review, then we do really appreciate it. Also, if you want to help, any sort of help in creating an influencer marketing strategy, or you want to join the Influencer Marketing Roundtable weekly event, then just head over to www.gordonglenister.com. And if you want to find out more of the shows that we have, go over to the Influence Podcast Network. And thanks again to my producer, Neil Whiteside from Freedom One. And until next time, from me, Gordon Glenister, it's bye for now.